Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Zelp, and today we are going to look at a DOT damage multiplier. And I feel like it shouldn't be that hard. There's something that I kind of forgot because in my last video I kind of said like there's two more multiplier to go. I forgot that heat multiplier is a little bit different because not only is the DOT damage vary from the other DOTs, but also it reduces the enemy's armor. So in that sense, I feel like heat needs to be recalculated in a different way than the general DOT. So first, we're gonna look at electrical damage. The reason why is because I made a video on electrical damage on how good it is right now. And currently, as of today, I feel like more people requested for electrical damage than all the other different multipliers. So we're gonna do electrical damage next. Now I'm doing this for the first time as well, so I'm gonna go through with you the processes that I go through. First of all, of course, I go to the wiki and try to get as many information as I can. From what it says is that it stuns an effect target and deals a tick damage every second for 6 seconds to all enemies in a 3-meter radius. Each tick dealing damage equals to 50% or 0.5 times base damage times 1 plus electrical damage from the mods. This is pretty much the increase in damage from the mods, and then it times the faction damage mods. Now what's interesting is that when you look at the equation given, it seems like the base damage consists of your damage multiplier. So it's the weapons base damage plus the weapon multiplier and also the faction. So faction and damage multiplier seems to be considered as just the base damage. And after that, when you look at the electrical mod multiplier, you realize that the faction mod is being increased or multiplied in again. So it also says down here, as can be seen in the above calculation, for tick damage, faction mods is applied twice. So I guess if you're going for this kind of DOT, we have to apply the faction mod twice. Now, if you come back to my spreadsheet, the faction over here is the faction mod, which is the Bane mods and so on. Because very recently, someone kind of asked me the question of how would faction mod stack in my scenario, which probably they did not saw this part, or they did not know that my faction mod actually represents the Bane mod. Okay, so first thing we need to do is I'm gonna bring out another spreadsheet, and this is going to be for electrical. Let's put multiplier calculation. Yeah, we need to have some form of consistency, and then we need to start thinking about how we're gonna put in the formula. So first, what kind of variables do we need? We need the base damage, so we need to have the base damage. We will need to have your basic damage multiplier. Okay, other things that we need is your electrical damage faction mod multiplier. I realize I'm spelling like multiplier. So now all we need to do is put in the formula, which is 0.5 times bracket the base damage. So over here in our spreadsheet, our base damage does not consist of the faction mod and also the damage multipliers. But over there, it's already consisted in. So I'm gonna put it here, base times damage multiplier multiplied by faction multiplier. Right, and you have to make sure that they are all increased by +1 by 100%, so that it includes itself. So it's going to be 1 plus damage multiplier times 1 plus faction multiplier. Otherwise, the value actually goes down instead of going up, and you don't want that. So this is the base right here. This is the base for the equation that they gave us, which is this part, this whole part, right? Now we need to look at the remaining parts. So it's really just 1 times electrical, and okay. So multiply again. Wait, do we multiply or do we add? Let's just double check on that. Yep, we multiply again, and it's going to be multiplying by the electrical damage or electrical multiplier, I guess. I feel like we shouldn't put damage here. We need to put multiplier because it's the amount of electrical damage that you gain from putting in the electrical mods. 1 plus electrical multiplier. I'm just writing this down so that we can have a clearer picture of what's going on. Electrical multiplier. Okay, and finally we're gonna do the faction mods again. Faction multiplier. Okay, like that. So the initial should be higher, but I feel like there is a way where you can play around with it where you can make the tick damage higher than its initial damage. I'm not too sure. It's just a feeling from looking at the equation. So it is at this point I realized that we don't really have an option to put in the base damage because we start off with this way thing. And this one consists of all the other elements after your elemental mods that you put in so that you know what are the chances of something proccing. So right now I feel like I need to put in a separate information that you kind of put in by yourself, which is the base. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna maybe add one option here. We're gonna put it as base weapon damage, maybe weapon. Let's just say base damage. I hope you guys know what this is. This is gonna refer to the damage your weapon can do without mods per hit. I feel like we shouldn't do the links yet. I think we should just put in values of how we feel, and then after that we will slowly change the we'll put the link over to the overall multiplier so that the user only needs to stick to this page. Okay, so damage multiplier mods, yeah, we can go, let's follow exactly as the things that they use, and then later on we'll try something. So they have a serration on, and they have a bane of Grenier on, which is 0.3. So let's do that as well. So damage multiplier is going to be 1.68, was it 1.68, 1.65? I don't remember. Oh, 1.65. We're going to put 0.9, and then faction mod multiplier is 0.3. Okay, looks like we have all the variables right in front of us. So let's create the formula for this particular damage outcome. Now this is only giving you damage per tick, so we're actually just trying to figure out what is the damage per tick. There are some of the brackets that I feel like is really not that necessary. It just helps me to categorize them a little bit better so that in case I want to troubleshoot, it's easier to see which part is which, and just, I don't know, in my opinion, makes it easier for me to figure out. So we get 425. How much does it have? 425. Is it the same? Yes, it's the same. Just out of fun, I want to find out how much damage does the weapon initially does. So if I were to do that, it's going to be the 100 damage that it has. Okay, it's going to be multiplying with bracket 1 plus this one. Oops. Oh, I don't have an equal sign in front, so I can't select boxes. Close. Multiply by this multiplier, which I need to put 1 plus this multiplier. And then we also have another one, which is 1 plus this one. Okay, 654. It's really close, I would say, but looks like the initial damage is still higher than the tick damage, which kind of makes more sense. Okay, now that we have the tick damage, we have to think about what's gonna happen throughout. So it's going to do 6 ticks, because 1 tick per second for 6 seconds, which means it is roughly, in total at least, it's going to be equals to this value multiplied by 6. So it's going to do 2.5k damage overall after a course of 6 seconds. Now again, you might be able to see the problem here. The problem is that the longer it is that you have the chance to keep proccing, the more ticks that you can apply, and then the longer you wait, the more damage it does. So therefore, in that sense, you also kind of need to make this multiplier relative to time, and not to the number of hits, because the thing that decide how much more damage it's gonna do to you is reflected on how long the status is on you. So right now I'm gonna just add some stuff. We're gonna have time here. And then obviously another thing that you have to take into account is your status chance. I'm gonna put this as 20% for now. So the question now is, how do you put the time and the status chance into this equation to give you a multiplier? It's really not that easy as you think. So I need to brainstorm a little bit and think for a sec. Okay, so based on the initial damage, I suddenly thought of an idea where what if we reverse engineer this entire equation to make it go back to see how much base damage do I need to get 100 initial damage. And the reason why I want to do that is going to be clear in just a bit. So what I need to do right now is that I need to take 100 divided by all these values. So I need to do 15 point this much basically. So let's say equals to this value. All right. And then now if I put this as this value, I should get 100. Okay. What this means is that if I have a weapon with these multipliers on, right, and I'm doing only 100 damage, with the help of the electrical status, I will be able to do 65% of my original damage as a tick damage, and it can stack up do 6 times to go up all the way to 390% of my original damage. Okay, now let's lay it out straight so that we can visualize this. If I were to have 20% status chance, that means out of 50 hits, so imagine that every single one of this box is 10 hits. Out of 50 hits, one of it is going to be one of 10 hits within this 50 hits is going to be proccing electrical damage. Now if it all procs at the start and it managed to finish this, I'll get the total of 10 times this multiplier. So it's going to be an extra 3,900%, right? But if they were to proc at the end and they didn't get to finish the entire 6 seconds, then I don't get that total multiplier. So I feel like what I need to do is to distribute it evenly. Instead of saying that they all proc at the start or they all proc at the end, we say that they proc 2 for every 10 hits. So there is 2 that procs over here. So out of 10 hits, 2 is gonna proc, 2 is gonna proc, 2 is gonna proc, 2 is gonna proc. The total number of hits is, here is 10, here is 10, here is 10, here is 10. So indirectly, it's still 20%, right? And by doing so, right now we have this visualization. The problem is still that it's relative to time, and if your attack speed is really fast, potentially it could do more, but because it doesn't have the time to crank up the damage or to give you more damage, then it's not as effective. Okay, seems like now that time is taken into consideration, we also need to include attack speed, because the attack speed is going to determine how much time is going to pass after X amount of shots. So let's just say 5 shots per second. It seems like I was right. Like for all status chance, unless it's something very simple, but anything that gives you more over time, you kind of have a different variable where you have to either declare the number of hits or the time taken of a certain range. And it's not like something that we can just calculate based on a simple formula. I guess this is the reason why we don't have any status type multiplier formula for all the Warframe builder or whatever calculator there is. So far I managed to do viral, but then we have an entire table just so that we can calculate the multiplier for viral. And I feel like this might also be the case for electric. We might actually need to make a table as well. But the thing is, some part of me feels like it's possible to not do with a table. I'm still trying to figure out how. Okay, so let's say we declare a time, which is 6 seconds. So in 6 seconds, how many shots would you have taken? Because you're doing 5 shots per second, so in 6 seconds it's going to be equals to, I think I should name them just in case. So I'll put like number of shots, right? It's going to be equals to this one multiplied by this one. You have 30 shots. Now let's find out how many out of the 30 shots is going to proc. So let's just put proc. I'm just using whatever words is just to help me remember what the number represents. So it's going to be equals to 20% out of 30. So it's equals to this one multiplied by the 20%. So 6 out of 30 is going to proc. Now if we divide this 6 by the time that it procs, which is 6 seconds, then we get 1 proc per second, right? So if we evenly distribute, so distribute this tree over time, if we put it like this, it'll be equals to this one divided by this one. So I have 1 proc per second. This is going to be over time. Instead of writing time, I'm going to put over second. Now just so you know, this has nothing to do with this. Okay, there are 2 different scenarios now. This one only does 30 shots, whereas this one we calculated with 50 shots, and we tried to make it we tried to distribute it. But currently I feel like it doesn't make sense. We can't use this because we have to put it relative to something that we declare, which is either time or speed, because most likely we're not always going to be using 50. And I'm trying to make that link right now, so this is what we're doing. Okay, so if this is the case, obviously the first hit is going to be able to give you 390% damage, right? Because it's going to last all the way through the 6 ticks. In fact, actually, just to make it a little bit more clear, I think I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna put in another box over here so that we have 6